On to one of other more important topics, which is of great concern for everyone in Ukraine, because Ukraine's defense tech industrial complex is one of the industries which is highly impactful for the development of hostilities and capability of the Ukrainian armed forces to defend itself and repel the enemy to where this enemy has come. Our panel discussion, this meeting will be comprised of two parts, because the issue of Ukraine's tech development cannot be discussed without talking to the government authorities first, which is to be followed by the whole industry representatives, people who represent both investors and producers, and we will delve deeper into commercial things and the avenues of its development. So first, I would like to introduce my interlocutor, Herman Smetanin, Minister of Strategic Industry of Ukraine. He has a great deal of experience. Herman, throughout all of his professional life, you have been working in the industrial defense complex. You used to be the chief designer, chief engineer, and you were in charge of a lot of very famous Ukrainian enterprises like Lviv armor vehicle, tank, Kharkiv tank enterprise, and the whole Ukroboronprom, as we know it. So for us to launch this discussion, what is your attitude, German, concerning the status quo in defense tech nowadays? Has anything changed during the time of war? Thank you, Dmytro, for your question. Defense tech nowadays is one of the highest priority industries for Ukraine to develop, and we have a lot of requests from the military concerning innovation. So this is one of the priorities for our ministry, as well as many enterprises working in the territory of Ukraine. Across the full border of Ukraine, defense tech is something which is the purview of a lot of companies, more than 300 companies. Some of them are owned by the government, others are privately owned. So as a ministry, we cooperate with these defense tech companies in order to develop, first of all, the technologies that will enable to save the lives of our military personnel. And secondly, we try to make sure that the human factor is also excluded to the best of our ability. So these are the two things that our def tech companies are targeting right now. If we're not mentioning the technologies that they are using to pursue the development of def tech technologies, whether it be weapon systems or air defense systems, etc. Nowadays, you know, all of the companies are evolving pretty quickly. Over the last year alone, our companies have produced more than 1 million FPV drones, as was expected, as the Ministry of Defense set them as a goal. And nowadays, for the next year, we have a capability to produce 4.5 million of FPV drones. So this is quadrupled, right, in capacity to produce. Yes, this year we have grown fourfold. There are some restrictions concerning some funding with reference to our national producers. Their capabilities are somewhat exceed the budget of Ukraine concerning the procurements that can be made from these companies. So the government is working on that. The Office of the President is also targeting them. Everyone involved in that is seeking every way of opportunities to find and attract foreign investments and engage the financial tools and instruments that our banking sector has to offer in order to make sure that our industrial capacities can contribute as they can to the production of the so much wanted goods. So we hope that there will be produced more than 15,000 different kinds of robots or robotic systems that are surface controlled. So DevTech this year alone as an industry has grown considerably. And for that, I would like to thank all of the producers involved who, under such challenging circumstances, when restrictions are placed on the capital, human capital in particular, time for the growth of this industry, have still attained such a significant result for the country.
So if we talk about interaction between the state, because before the start of the war, the main dominant on Ukrainian industry was state-owned companies. During the war, we have now many Ukrainian private enterprises. How was the balance between the state and to private, the dynamics in Ukraine? So currently, if we talk about DevTech, as I said before, there are 300 companies in this industry. Currently, in Ukraine, there are more than 800 producers of armaments and military tech. As for the state companies, it's about 12% in general number of companies, but it doesn't reflect the amount of the products designed by state and private companies. So there's a huge dynamic, right? Yeah, the creation of new companies, initiation of new businesses in Ukraine over the last time was rapidly increasing. So if we talk about the benefits of Ukrainian Miltech, because there are many areas where Ukraine showed a lot of innovation, new solutions, new approaches. So what are the areas of Miltech that you see where we are better than foreign analogies? Now that when we talk with our foreign partners, of course, those investors, the companies that coming to Ukraine, first time they look at DevTech because this industry is growing the most and the fastest, and also has the biggest potential in terms of growth in the future, in terms of future revenues. So if we talk about certain areas like industry, like armored vehicles, of course we are, from experience, we know that our feedback between Ukrainian military, it shows that there are some areas for investors who are coming to Ukraine. They see Ukrainian designs that are much stronger in terms of electronic warfare, because we're learning as we go. The speed of electronic warfare development is so fast that people come to us to learn. Some things that other people learn from us. Yeah, lessons learned is our super strength that our vendors have when they talk to our military. If this year, last year was the year of UAVs, FPV drones, deep strike, so we as a country has shown a strong results in terms of increased tactical capabilities, and we see a significant influx and growth of our land robot complexes. Next year, I think, will be the year of these systems. And now there are even examples where foreign companies invest in parts of the businesses of these companies that produce land robotic systems. So this is some of the biggest areas where foreign investors keep investing and want to keep investing into Ukrainian production. Right, so let's proceed to the ministry. You've recently been appointed. What are the priorities for the next year? There are a lot of priorities. We are the Ministry of Strategic Industries of Ukraine, but there's one priority for now. It's providing the armed forces of Ukraine with the armaments, with the best tactical characteristics in the short term. So the priority for the next year and for this year is to provide to our defense forces the best armaments. So what do? We communicate with our vendors. As you know, this week we adopted the provision on preferential loans for our defense industry. Now we can get loans for 5% interest rate, as much as 500 million hryvnias, to procure equipment, to change production lines, to change processes, to upgrade those processes and hardware to produce more, faster, and cheaper. So you can get 5% annual 100 million hryvnias for your running, for your current capital, if you need for running costs. The main accent when we help the vendors is that it is for defense forces. So do you have a KPI for the ministry to increase Ukrainian produced Miltech and the general volume of armaments that the Ukrainian armed forces get? At the moment, the production capacity is 1.3 trillion hryvnias. Unfortunately, the budgets of Ukraine are fully covered. They cannot cover this. So, first area is we need to give work to those capacities that are free, that are available in Ukraine. Secondly, we still don't produce some things enough to provide to our defense forces. So, give them job and growing into areas that we still underinvested. You mentioned financial incentives for the industry. It's clear for many industries, it's important. For many companies, the big challenge is capital investments, expanding production, placing facilities in well-protected areas. So you mentioned to create incentives for capital investments and preferential loan conditions for state-owned contracts. Do you plan anything? Because that's been discussed. Banks keep talking about it, but I would like to hear from you. 100 million hryvnias, 5% annual interest rate, 3 years. These 100 million you can use for running costs, for capex, or for advance payments for materials, spare parts to produce Miltech. So partially it can be covered by preferential loans, but banks, as far as I know, have enough liquidity, but they give it for other percentage, for other interest rates, of course. So there is capacity to have preferential treatment, but only for defense companies that produce armaments with existing contracts with defense forces or charity funds that procure materials for military units. So then you have to, you can be eligible for these loans. So as a vendor of Miltech, I'm thankful that the ministry has lobbied that and the profitability back in 22 is thing to be when we have to catch up with. So you have headed the Ukraine Defense Miltech Ukroboronprom. What are you proud of, and what would you like to improve? Of the previous year, we had doubled our production volumes for the vendors. It's clear what has to be done to increase production volumes. It's a lot of work, and I'm proud of that, of this result, and it's our entire team achievement. Thanks to that, we managed to be within top 50 biggest armament producers in the world. We didn't have such results before, but we see that that this year we're growing, and we'll hope that we'll see this dynamic this year. There was anti-corruption reform, the anti-corruption strategy was implemented, and it is continuously being implemented, and I think that is the biggest achievements for anti-corruption initiatives. We still have to complete the corporatization transformation so that we unite all the companies into a group of companies and put them into shareholder company. So that will complete the process of transformation. Yeah, so that's what we had to do faster, maybe, but it's still ongoing. Right, thank you. So we will transition to the panel discussion from the industry. But I have one more question to Herman. There will be investors in the next panel discussion. And so let's imagine you have $100 million. Where would you invest this money into Ukrainian defense tech? Well, although you did mention that it's Ukrainian, there are many investors coming to Ukraine asking where we should invest, but they invest abroad. It's important to create here companies to grow capability in Ukraine so that its Ukrainian defense companies have capability to produce armaments. If I'd say missiles and drones and then up and go, is that too epic? No. There are people looking at it in the audience because they understand if that is interesting for investors, not only the ministry, but you personally, because you have to understand, again, Herman works in the industry in a systemic way. I can speak for myself. I joined the industry during the war. Herman works, and so systemic people, when they talk about investments, they have to listen. So now, one of the most priority is defense, air defense. It's very attractive because you see the Russians hurl shaheeds against us. We have to protect us. We have to increase our air defense. The partners help us, and there are many DevTech companies working in that area. And it's very attractive in Ukraine. And also our long-range weapons. That's one of the priorities as well, to get stronger. Okay, thank you, Herman. Thank you for what you're doing and for supporting Ukrainian industry.